Hey guys, check it out. So today I am building a 4-foot by 4-foot system board for training. So I thought this would be a really good complement to my hangboard. You know, what I'm going to plan on setting up is some campus rungs in the middle, some slopers, and then some pinches. So I'll be able to, you know, really practice the transition on, you know, multiple holds. Since it'll be a standard, you know, layout, I could also put any holds on it that I wanted to really practice, you know, that kind of repetitive change from hold to hold of the same type. You know, specifically what got me started on training on a system board was one of the gym routes I was working on, an 11 plus. It was really heavy on pinches, and so, you know, I would do some just kind of hanging on pinches, you know, do a transition up, do a transition back, and just, you know, really kind of build up that pinch strength. You do the same thing with, you know, jugs, with slopers, crimps, whatever it is you need to practice. So system board is laid out a little bit differently than a standard climbing wall layout. For this, I have a 6-inch grid pattern, which I've already drawn out. If I was doing a climbing wall, what I would do is I would space my holes 8 inches apart, and then every row would be staggered back and forth. So that's typically how climbing wall is laid out, versus a system wall, which uses just a 6-inch square grid. So I've already drawn that out. What I'm going to be doing next is I need to drill all of my holes, and I'm going to be inserting T-nuts from the back and just hammering those in. So for this, I've chosen to use 1/4-20 hardware. Should be plenty strong for what it is I'm doing. You know, I've got my 1.5-inch 1/4-20 bolts that I'll be using to bolt my campus rungs and my pinch holds and slopers onto the board. So the barrel of these, you can pick these up at Home Depot. They're pretty cheap. These are the pronged ones, so you just hammer them in from the back. And the barrel of the T-nut requires a hole drilled with a 5/16 inch bit. So with that said, I've got 49 holes to drill and 49 T-nuts to hammer in. Alright, so all the holes are drilled. Now I'm just going to flip it over and hammer in some T-nuts. So, and if you look at the back, you'll understand why I drilled all of my holes from the front. Okay, so just a tip, you know, when you're doing some drilling, you might get some, you know, fracturing and nastiness on the backside. So that's why you want to go ahead and drill from the front, not the back. So there are different types of T-nuts you can buy. Your normal consumer grade just have the prongs on them. You can buy some that have holes in them to screw on. Some people will take the extra effort to actually, you know, clear an area so that this will sink down into it and mount flush. You don't really need to do any of that. It really just depends on, how much effort you want to put into it. How much you might be changing the holds that are on it. You might want to take it and go to that extra effort. But I am just going to go ahead and hammer in mine. So. You get knocks, and they go in and they'll hold. So 48 more to do. Okay, so I finished all the holes. I got the T-nuts installed in the back. I've got my hardware here. So now hardware will just go right on through. Just screws right into my T-nut. Some of these might need to be, there we go, straightened up a little bit since they were just hammered in. You really want to get the T-nuts seated really tight. You can put all your bolts in, with a few washers, tighten them all down. They'll really pull that T-nut in and get it locked in there tight. It's kind of a nice extra step to take. This is pretty much it. So 4x4. Using the 1/4-20 hardware. If you're going to build something bigger that you might be putting your full body weight on, you might consider a heavier duty hardware. You choose your bolt length based on the size holes you're going to have. Once I get this mounted, I'm going to be looking to put it at like a 15 to 30 degree angle, right? So I'll just be still feet on the ground, but putting probably, maybe half my body weight onto the holds, and transitioning. So this is going to be plenty strong enough. Going to get it mounted next and going to be making some homemade holds. So that's what we'll see next here. Right now what I'm doing is making some campus rungs. So I'm kind of duplicating the design that Metolius does. So theirs are 16 inches long. So what I've got is a 1x2 4-foot long piece of poplar. So I'll be able to cut that into 3 16-inch campus rungs. What I've done here is I've clamped it to my work table. I use a rasp to work the edge into a curve so that this front edge is going to be curved. And then I did a little finishing with 120 grit sandpaper. So all I'm looking for this profile right here. You see I got a nice rounded edge on one end. So when I go and I grab, that's going to be what I campus on right there. So I'll be making 6 of these total for the system board. Alright, so I have cut down my wood into 16-inch lengths, which is standard length for campus rung. Certainly the length that Metolius campus rungs come in. I've then taken and marked my holes where I'm going to be drilling. These are again on a 6-inch center since it's going to go onto my system board. So you can see that I've marked that just right down the center and then 6-inch centers. When I go to drill my holes, the first thing I want to do is I want to counterbore them, right? So I take a spade bit, since that's the tool that I have, and I very carefully drill down just till the head of my bolt is below the surface. So I check it as I'm drilling. Then once I've counterbored, I go back and I drill my through hole through the campus wood. So now that I've counterbored it and I've got my hole, you'll see that the head of my bolt is recessed below. So as I'm campusing, I'm not going to be dragging onto the bolt head. So Once I've drilled all my holes, go back, hit the surface again with a little sandpaper, both sides, just to get rid of those splinters, and that's how you make a campus rung. So I'm making 6 of them, and the wood for that cost about $5. So a bunch of labor, but you know, it's cool making them on your own by hand for $5. You really can't beat that. So, all right, guys. So next step for my system wall is to make a series of pinches. So what I have here is a 3-foot long piece of poplar, and I'm gonna make out of this 9 4-inch pinches. So they'll be about that size right there, maybe about 6 fingers width. So it'll be great to pinch on. I'm gonna be rounding both top edges and these back edges. So I don't have a, once I get this cut down, I'm gonna have to do some sanding to get these angles off. I can do it with a rasp, but I really want to take it down quite a bit to get a really nice round there. So what I'm going to use is a belt sander. Now I don't have a benchtop belt sander, so I'm going to have to make do with the belt sander that I do have. So one kind of trick you can do here is you can actually clamp this down onto a table surface, and if yours has a lock on button, which most of them do, then you can lock it on and use it. However, you're going to want to be really careful when you do that. So that's how I'm going to do it. I've got a 50 grit belt on here just to take off a whole bunch of wood on those corners, and then I'll shape them and smooth them out by hand. So with that said, first thing I need to do is make a few cuts. Alright, so I got my blocks cut. I've strapped my belt sander down using some zip ties onto my table saw. So there's no way this can move. It can't come off the table on me, just for safety. So now I'm going to sand the edges down. Put on some gloves. See how it goes. Alright, so I've got my shape kind of roughed in, so I'll finish the rest off by hand once I get all of them, you know, roughed into that shape right there. Then we'll be adding the bolt hole and the counterbore on top of that. So I have roughed in all of my pinch blocks, and I finished off a couple of them by hand. So I went ahead and finished one all the way just so I can go ahead and show you since it's starting to get dark here. So I drilled my counterbore using my spade bit and then drilled it out. So as you can see here, this is my finished pinch, and I'll just drop my hardware in there and bolt it right onto my system wall. So I just have a bunch more finishing work to do, and then I'll have all my pinches ready. So I just finished mounting my system board and my holds. I've got 8 pinches mounted up at different angles, as well as my campus rungs. Now I ended up only putting it at a 10-degree angle, primarily just because of space, and I didn't want it to interfere as I was coming into the room. So in addition to that, with only kind of a 20 mil ledge here on my campus rungs, you know, going out more than 10 degrees is actually pretty difficult. So pretty happy with it, really happy with the way it turned out. In terms of the way that I mounted this to the wall, so I put some 2x4s bolted to the frame of the house, created a framing that kicked out and put it at the 10 degrees. Then reinforced all of that with metal bracketry, like what you would use to build a deck, maybe the substructure. So in terms of that, really, I'm not an expert, not a mechanical engineer, even though I'm an engineer. My advice is, take what you think needs to be stronger or needs to be strong enough, and build more than that, right? So I always overbuild, just to make sure it's super strong. It'll really hold me. I've tested it out, so it's good to go. So really happy with it. Need to make some more holds. Want to do some slopers that I can put in here to practice with. And it's fantastic. So with this, I can do quite a bit of really some endurance training, where I'll just transition from the hold types, in a circuit for a period of time, take a break, so it might be 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, really getting that pump, so pinches are fantastic. Really put my weight into it here, and just do a circuit where I move around on those holds. I can change and mix in the campus rungs, really work it up, down, and I tell you, you run a circuit like that for a couple of minutes and you're gonna get some serious pump. All right, so really working that endurance, working, that pinch strength is super important to me. There was a route at the gym that was really heavy on pinches, had a couple of really cool pinch moves. I'm sure it'll be gone when I get back. That's kind of how gym routes go, but it definitely pointed out a weakness that I wanted to address, and that's what system boards are really great for. So build one. It's fantastic, excellent training tool in combination with the hangboard. What can I say? I think it's gonna really get my climbing up a notch when we get back outside. Right. So hopefully you guys found that useful and interesting. I wanted to just add a few more comments about kind of the learning process that I went through here, and just a few other details. So I built my wall here using 1/4-20 hardware, which is definitely strong enough, not a problem. It's readily available, especially since I'm not doing anything dynamic or really even putting my full weight onto the holds. However, it is, after doing some research, more standard to use 3/8 inch hardware. So certainly if you're going to build something bigger, I would definitely recommend using 3/8 inch. And if you are considering mixing in some purchased holds, you might want to go with a 3/8 inch hardware so that everything's compatible. The other thing is, while I was building and inserting the T-nuts, I mentioned certain T-nuts that have holes in them for screwing them onto the back. So if you can afford the upgrade, it's well worth it. It's just a few extra dollars for those T-nuts. It's called a brad hole T-nut. So here is one right there. Hopefully you can see the holes in there. I did go ahead and buy a packet of those to replace any that I might strip out when mounting holds, so I can go ahead and pop those out and put these in. I didn't go back and replace everything. If I had bought these to begin with, I would have just put them all in there. I'm also not going to be changing my holds very often, since it's system board. Once I get it set, it's kind of just there for training. So, I'm not too worried about using the pronged T-nuts. The other thing is, in case you're interested, the total cost for this build was about $50. That's for all the wood and the hardware to build it. So it's pretty cost effective. Just takes a little investment of your time, and certainly well worth it. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, comment below, and I'll be happy to answer them and tell you what I can. All right, thanks.